Well, our old friend MovieBob is back at it. Well, not even back at it. This is something that has been several years old. Let me check just to make sure when MovieBob actually made this video on Halo Reach. It was 7 years ago, not to the day, but over 7 years ago now, that MovieBob made his Halo Reach retrospective review for the big picture on The Escapist. And I watched that video and it's pure retardism, like in every way, shape, and form. I mean, top off with the, fact that the movie's actually just a 3-minute ramble on stuff MovieBob does not understand about Halo lore and conglomerating everything with Spartans and the UNSC to eugenics and Nazism and fascism, even though it doesn't make any goddamn sense. He really goes off the rails here, and there's a reason that it has such a large ratio in terms of the likes, dislikes. It's got 700 likes and over 11,000 dislikes, especially when Halo Reach, when that game first launched, people didn't really enjoy it as much as they did the other Halo games, but it's since then become almost widely accepted as a really good game, though there are detractors to that point. I'm one of them. So is Wolf. But yeah, and I came into knowledge of this video 2 EFAPs ago because there was a guy who typed in the super chat asking about the chat's thoughts about this review. And one, it's really astonishing that he's never changed his editing style for The Escapist, because he's got that stupid thing where he's got the internet faces popping up for no reason at all, and then at least he's not talking too fast in this one. He's not talking fast, but still, he really doesn't, he didn't even try giving the other games a fair shake. Like, he said he never played them, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna give Halo Reach a shot. It's like, oh no, everything sucks, blah blah blah. It's like, there's legit criticism to have with the game. It's just criticisms he has are way out in left field, and we're gonna go over those today. So let's get into it, and then I'm going to have to blow my brains out with a sawed-off shotgun pretty quick.
It's no secret in the gaming world that I'm not a big Halo fan, but because some readers kept asking, I did go and give Halo Reach a shot. I'm still not feeling it. Sorry. Hey, big ups to Bungie on all that brilliant characterization on Noble Team, though. The girl soldier is a badass. The other badass likes to stand out. The really big guy is actually a big-hearted softy. Hoo-hoo, boy. Way to break the mold, fellas.
Okay, so what MovieBob just did there is kind of a straw man, because he did not pay attention to the intricacies of those characters. Granted, characters have a wide range of popularity in the Halo community. Kat is the one that's certainly one of the most disliked people out of Noble Team, but it's not because she's a badass, and they actually don't really portray her as like this super badass. She's an intelligence officer. Her whole shtick is technology. Remember, through the first part of the game, she kind of cracked code to get into some stuff that Halsey was working on, and Halsey got kind of pissed off about it, to the point where Carter was like, you want to go in the brig for interfering with the Spartan program? Even though, ironic considering she's the one who created the Spartan program in the first place. But yeah, it's like he obviously didn't pay attention about that. And then there's going to be some other stuff with diversity, just to skip ahead a little bit. So let me just go ahead and give you the rundown on Emil and George. Emil's most commonly accepted to be a black guy. His voice actor sounds African-American. He does a really damn good job. Like, I really like Emil, even if they don't give him much to work with in terms of progression. But he sounds funny. He is funny. He's pretty badass. He freaking goes down, obeys the glory. And then George, I like George. I mean, he's not the most fleshed out of the... Well, he's not... None of them are really fleshed out to the fullest extent, but George was fleshed out in a way that was like, I can get behind him at least. And he's also Hungarian, so wait until he pulls the fascist, eugenics, white supremacist talking points again. Just wait for that.
But ultimately, it did lead me to a kind of revelation, or at least a notion that had been building up slowly in my subconscious finally broke out and flowered into a full-formed thought. The Covenant is so much more interesting and diverse visually than the Spartans are.
Oh man, that crazy man's about to get on up his high horse and talk about how awesome the Covenant is, despite being portrayed as the bad guys. Yes, he unironically makes that point. I'm not joking. Wait. Alright, just stay with me.
And the Spartans are. Does anyone else notice this? Now, to be fair, this makes sense in context. The Spartans are a military outfit specifically raised and scientifically augmented to be largely faceless, emotionless force of living weapons. They're a militaristic, quasi-fascist wet dream.
A militaristic quasi-fascist wet dream. Let that sink in as to how retarded MovieBob is. That is dumb. Fascism, as far as I know of in the Halo universe, is not practiced at all by anyone. Alright, the Covenant, they're a faction based on religious authority and hierarchy. UNSC, democracy to a point, but still the universe is still heavily shifting towards the military, but not in a way where it's like super duper oppressive. Like what he is saying here, he's like, look, the Spartans were created in context of the Halo lore to crush human rebellions. But guess what? The human rebellions in Halo lore, even as far back as Halo Nightfall and Forward Unto Dawn in terms of the movies, they were doing bad shit. Actually, not even in Halo Nightfall. They weren't in Nightfall, but, you know, all the way back into the new stuff we've gotten. Of course, this wasn't made back then, but, you know, in context, they did some bad shit. In the books, they did some bad shit. Like, you know, they killed civilians that supported the UNSC. Right, it's never been stated in the games, but it's always been a thing in the lore that, you know, the insurrectionists were pretty bad people. The UNSC wasn't perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just, they were still pretty bad. So, I don't understand why he's all of a sudden just saying that without clear-cut evidence that the Spartans were created to be quasi-fascist. Like, no. That's not what the Spartan program was created for. That's not what they are. They're still people. They're taught moral lessons, especially the Master Chief in the Fall of Reach. They're all taught moral lessons. They're taught around the Spartan program to be a unit. Like each different one of them is the hand or the sword or the brains of the operation. Right? Like MovieBob really does not understand what the Halo lore is for.
Dream, basically, right down to being named after the society that wrote the book on militaristic quasi-fascist wet dreams.
Okay, that's a stretch. That's a big stretch. One, the original Spartans, you know, from old Greek times. That was a very long time ago when they were a thing. So they kind of had an excuse for being one of the most brutal motherfuckers in all of human history. Second off, they were not fascist. They ruled like a kingdom. The Sparta was still a kingdom. Has there ever been a fascist kingdom ever? Okay, fascists rule with an iron fist because they're totalitarian. The thing with Spartans is they controlled every aspect of society, but they were, you know, a bit different than, you know, the Nazis and the browncoats and the Italians. You know, they're a bit different because guess what? They had a lot of bad shit to deal with back then, and they could not have any room for weakness. At least that's what they saw. All right, like, you know, they made themselves stronger. I'm not defending what the Spartans did. They committed some pretty brutal atrocities. They had slaves and all that type of stuff, but there is some much needed context for the Spartans in you know, old human lore that greatly does not follow into the footsteps into the UNSC with the Spartan program. Spartans in the UNSC do not do that type of shit. Okay? They have feelings, they have thoughts. All right, they mourn whenever things go bad. Like in Fall of Reach, the Master Chief and his squad are trying to get this guy who's an insurrectionist, this colonel who defected. I think it was Colonel Watts. And in the process of that, more than quite a few civilians died on the place they were at. And he kind of regrets that, that things went the way they did because, he didn't want people to die. All right, and that's also one of the things that, Halo 5 Guardians was trying to kind of raise, like, we always knew that the Chief from the books cared about civilians and all that type of stuff. And in the games, he's always trying to save humanity. But then in Halo 5, it's like, oh man, there's some bad shit going around with civilians. And then in Halo 5, he just doesn't give a shit. It's like, they don't even give any nuance to it, so they just don't make him give a shit. So
this stuff has been the lifeblood of the military sci-fi genre ever since Starship Troopers, except there the Space Marine guys were up against an enemy whose collective insect hive mind makeup made them even more faceless and anti-individualist, so it kind of balanced out.
Oh my god, did he even read Starship Troopers? Granted, I've never read Starship Troopers, but I've read synopsises, I've listened to people talk about it, and Sargon of Akkad has a really good video on Starship Troopers. The guys in Starship Troopers are not fascist. There's a reason they do things the way they do it. And, the bugs actually do instigate first contact. They are used as an allegory for communism, but it's not done from, like, a fascist standpoint. It's done from a, regular Western philosophy type of deal. Like, they're still preaching Western philosophy, and they have different characters preaching different things, but it's not what it's actually trying to preach. It's trying to preach that the individuality should be overcoming the, hive mind of the enemy, which was communism back when Heinlein wrote Starship Troopers. And that's also really funny that he uses the movie as an example too, because in Starship Troopers, everybody has a distinct personality and character, despite the fact that the writers tried to blanket everything, and the director tried to blanket everything in the movie as being just fascist wet dreams. And it's just, wow, they pretty much failed there. Like, seriously, take away all the propaganda reels, take away the propaganda reels and the bullshit about the human colonists colonizing worlds controlled by the arachnids, and the humans are completely justified. That's how poorly they really constructed the first movie in terms of the coherence of the plot. Still like the movie, but it's got some problems. And in Halo, the Covenant are trying to wipe out everyone. Okay, they see humanity as a threat. And they want them wiped off the face of the planet. They're the enemies of the Forerunners, something the humans don't know.
But in Halo, look who fights for the Covenant. Big guys, little guys, creatures from tons of different worlds in every color of the spectrum. I mean...
MovieBob, the littlest of those guys are over 5 foot tall in lore. Over 5 foot tall. The Chief is barely the same height as fucking jackals. At least some jackals. The grunts are nearly 6 foot tall. Hunters are over 11 feet tall. Elites are 9 foot tall. And yes, they're all different races, but they're vastly superior to almost every human on the face of the planet and the galaxy. What are you talking about? What? So what? They have different colors and they have different sizes and they're different races. Who gives a shit about that? They're still a threat. They're still killing people pretty indiscriminately. And in fact, in the books as well, the grunts are described as they can go quite feral sometimes on humans. Same thing with jackals. And like towards the middle, after the middle part of the Fall of Reach is completed, and you actually hear some more stuff about what Chief's been doing since his mission with Sam. They actually go through a thing where like an entire human colony was just ripped apart by grunts and jackals, and that when they got to the planet, there was no one left, and they killed every single Covenant species that was there. What are you doing?
Just look at all these dudes for a minute. It's like Reach is being invaded by a Benetton ad from space. In terms of diversity, the Covenant makes the Planeteers look like the KKK. And, of course, these are the bad guys.
Movie Bob. Now, he's going to at least acknowledge that there is a reason why the Covenant is going after humanity, but the fact that he is saying that, oh, they're so diverse, it's stupid that they're the bad guys, is so unbelievably retarded. All right, in terms of racial diversity, Noble Team is pretty diverse. In terms of the UNSC is pretty diverse. You have Hispanic dudes, you have African American dudes, you have white dudes fighting in the goddamn military. Jesus Christ, Sergeant Johnson is the most famous side character out of any Halo game. It's because he's fucking awesome. He's well written, well rounded, has somewhat of an arc in the mainline games. It's pretty subtle. And then you have all the Marines that follow you around, like Chaps Dubois. He's a Britishman. And you have Mendoza, first game, Hispanic man. So what? All humans are going to look the same because we share the same fucking body structure. Why are you whining that the diversity... Why are you whining about the diversity thing being something that... But look, that just means that they have an unfair advantage on humanity. Humanity is just one race. The Covenant are full of multiple fucking races. You dumb fuck.
Yeah, I know. All these different species come from different worlds because they were conquered and converted by the Covenant. So it's mainly diverse because it's essentially a slave army, which is of course supposed to remind us in part of another famous multinational slave army that went to war with another bunch of guys called Spartans. But
that stuff from early BCs. Well, the late BCs, okay? Stop acting like the Spartans of the UNSC in 2552 are morally equivalent to the Spartans way back when, before the fucking telephone was created. Don't pull that bullshit on me, Movie Bob. Do not.
But come on, how many people actually play Halo for the context?
Whoa, that is the definition of a fucking hot take. Wow. So he's basically saying that Halo is like barely distinguishable from Call of Duty because he assumes that most people play Halo for the fact that there's a multiplayer and that's it. That is farther from the truth than I'd ever seen any of his other statements. And his other statements are pretty far from the truth as well. Okay, so the game that popularized FPSs for the console, especially with its story mode, nah, people don't play it for its story mode. They only play it for the multiplayer. Fuck off. Okay, I played the Halo games for its story, and its multiplayer, when I can play it, is fun, but I don't have good internet connection, and I'm barely around anybody that can play it with me. So guess what? I got engrossed in the story, and so a bunch of other people. And besides, people played it with their friends. People can play co-op campaign. They can set up LAN parties to play multiple Xboxes with each other, at least how they used to be able to do it, to play with each other in one building on multiple Xboxes. This is just a blatant misunderstanding and misrepresentation of what Halo fans are. And he does it in 3 fucking seconds. Like, that's pretty fucking quick.
Next. Think about how this looks when viewed in the macro. Militaristic culture visibly pretext on submission of individual self to quasi-fascist collective equals good. Multiple races and species working together to a common goal equals evil.
What the fuck are you talking about? They're not fucking stoic people. They are not emotionalists. Are you retarded? Jesus, hit my knee on the table. They have varying levels of emotion. All the Spartans do. In the books, in the games, in comics, in TV shows, well, in a TV show, in movies, they have differing levels of personality. And they're human. That's all they can be. They can't be anything else. So what that the Covenant, being a multicultural race, well, being a multicultural facet of different races, and them being bad, yeah. So what? Who gives a shit? You're not paying attention to the context. You're really not. Like, what in the hell is this?
I mean, when the skinheads and neo-Nazi bigots in general talk down about how diversity is bad and you shouldn't mix the races, isn't this usually the basis of their crazy argument that mixed societies or mud races or whatever they call them tend to be these destructive, unclean hordes, while pure cultures emphasizing sameness and conformity are superior?
That is not applicable in the fucking slightest. Human race, there's only one fucking race. You have different variety of skin colors in different places where people come from, but overall, there's one human race. Hence why, in human history, while it was pretty dumb, and it is still pretty dumb that people say this, that people were so crazy about race mixing to the point where they were willing to hurt people to stop it from happening. Yeah, it's dumb. But guess what? The Covenant have different species. Different species. There's only one fucking human species. Only one. At least only one that is still alive on this planet. All right, Homo sapiens. That's us. The Covenant, you got Sangheili, you got the not the Yom Kippur, you got the grunts, you got the hunters, you got jackals, you got skirmishers, you got drones, you got brutes, you got the prophets. Those are all different races gaining with each other to gang up on one specific race. If anything, you could use the Covenant as an example of like the different Slavic cultures of the world, or Anglo cultures of the world, ganging up on African Americans, or ganging up on Africa in general, and always acting superior towards black people. You could have been using it, you can be using that as an example. Instead of going along with this, at least have more merit, instead of going on with this bullshit.
Look, I'm not here to accuse Bungie of promoting fascism, especially since what we do see of Spartan creation does cast the whole thing in an air of morally ambiguous gray, and holy crap! Wait, can we go back to that? Did his eyes just turn blue? So hold up, you got this young guy with the conspicuously well-shaved head getting turned into the ultimate human weapon, and you know it worked because his eyes are blue now?
One, there was liquid going through his veins that had to deal with the augmentation. Two, he had to be shaved. He was getting titanium plates put into his fucking body. Three, his eyes were already a darker shade of blue. They just got a lighter shade of blue. Are you serious? Is this a joke? Is this all a fucking joke to you, MovieBob? What? Oh, he's shaved and he looks like a Nazi, but he's not actually a Nazi because I don't want to pay attention to the fucking Halo lore. I just want a virtue signal about white man bad. Fuck off. So he basically just said that he wasn't going to accuse Bungie of being race bashers or anything like that. Then immediately went to that point with no segue, just said, No, his eyes have turned blue and his body's all shaved up, despite the fact he's getting ready for a pretty tense medical procedure that could end up in death and, at the very least, physical disability. Nah, just call everybody Nazis. Yeah, that's totally how it should work. What the fuck?
Bungie, that's some pretty scary unintended symbolism there. This is some kind of self-parody, right? Right?
Oh. Stop calling Bungie fucking racist for no goddamn reason other than you are a dumb motherfucker who wants attention. Stop it.
Okay, maybe that's taking it too far. The show is called The Big Picture, after all, and in this case, the big picture isn't the creepy fascist undertones in Halo, or the rather embarrassingly vast pantheon of Heinlein wannabe Space Marine stories. It's the fact that this primitive tribalistic idea of the pure and thus noble monoculture under threat by multiculture is still so tragically pervasive in the human imagination that it even crops up here. Which is especially ironic since the whole idea of the Covenant as bad guys is supposed to be critical of blind loyalty to arcane belief system.
Well, I don't know. That's a good fucking question. But that doesn't apply to the Halo universe because there's no racial shit in it at all. The only racial shit has to do with the Covenant. That's all it has to do with. Top that off, this isn't Mass Effect where you can bang different species like the Turians and the Quarians, and you could probably, and MovieBob's probably might make the case one day that Mass Effect is actually a eugenics fucking wet dream. like in reference to the Reapers. No, in reference to like humans and everything, and that the Reapers are actually the good guys all along. You know, ignoring all the context there, but it's like you can't bang elites. Okay? There's a lot of crazy shit to do if you would bang another species without, you know, figuring out all the stuff in terms of like their immune systems and their diseases are. And I also don't think that there have actually been any cross species, you know, fucking in Halo lore, but that could change. Not like it wouldn't be bad. I mean, the Sangheili, pretty good looking, despite the fact they have split jaws, but I wouldn't doubt somebody try to fuck him. Can't fuck a grunt. He's made of methane. And then jackals is like, nobody wants to fuck a jackal. Can't fuck a hunter worms unless you like tentacle porn. Drones would rip you to pieces. Your point doesn't...
Systems. Why does some part of our collective psyche still fear the concept of racial or cultural mixing? And why is it so ingrained that we hardly even notice it anymore? More importantly, why aren't we more inclined to try noticing it, and even getting rid of it? I'm Bob.
Okay, I'm done. That's it. No more. Okay, MovieBob, that last point was just ridiculous. Okay, nobody is making that point. Literally no one in gaming culture is making that point. In fact, there are quite a few game companies who are actually trying to dissuade that point in their games. They're actually trying to put diversity into games where it doesn't fit, where it's not supposed to be, like Kingdom Come Deliverance. That's supposed to be a game where it's supposed to be, at least for the most part, mainly white people, and people bash on the developers because, oh no, there's no black people. Like, Bob, you're retarded. Okay, I'm going to take this line from Rags and just say it word for word. You are retarded. You are worse than Riley J. Dennis on basically every level. There's a reason why people say, do not give MovieBob the Infinity Gauntlet. Because you have some really far out ideas that are like way up there. Like you're worse than flat earthers and super hardcore government conspiracy theories combined. That's a pretty potent mix. Okay, so MovieBob, next time you talk about Halo Reach, actually delve into the series and provide at least some, you know, proof that you are knowledgeable. Actually enter debates with people in the Halo community, because man, if the reception of that video is any indication, that would pretty much scare you into not wanting to make another video on the series at all. And if you tried making something for Halo Infinite, despite the fact there's a pretty Hispanic looking dude for the Halo Infinite launch trailer, well, not the launch trailer, but for the Halo Infinite E3 trailer that just came out, yeah, you're gonna get your ass handed to on that front. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed Don't Die. And yeah, just I want to drink a good old bucket of rhino milk to ease my suffering, because I listened to a MovieBob video. Yay.